Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a wonderful Wednesday so far. Today we're going to be diving into our daily cryptocurrency market update. And in this one, we are really going to home in on the crypto space, look at what's taking place, because we've got some leaked information from Janet Yellen, which really follows up what we are all waiting and anticipating, and that is the executive order on crypto that Biden is set to sign this week. Essentially, there was a report filed or a report published from Janet Yellen that wasn't actually supposed to be published, and it gives us some insight into what this order is going to look like. So we are going to focus very heavily on crypto today. Apologies yesterday, we were going to do a longer video on commodities. You guys know within these updates, and we've been doing them for over 4 months now, where we've been giving daily updates on the crypto market during this turbulent time period. Really not only looking at crypto, but looking at the kind of macroeconomic landscape around us, looking at commodities, equities. We've been doing that for a long time. Now it's the hot topic, but it's been a part of crypto's story for a while now because we've matured as a market. We have a lot of the same actors that are involved with kind of macroeconomics in our space or macro markets. And we've evolved and are evolving with it and have a lot of the same pressures that those markets have now weighing down on our market. So it's important to remember that, but we are really going to focus on what Janet Yellen really had to say, or what essentially some of the revealing insights that this publication from Yellen essentially gave. So Janet Yellen slips details of Biden's executive order on crypto. The Treasury statement came a day early and was removed from the site, but not before details of how Secretary Yellen plans to respond to President Biden's forthcoming order. So we're going to get into this article, and then I'm going to be replaying you these two clips. Now, these were from the congressional hearing that essentially was 3 hours of Jerome Powell getting scrutinized or getting questioned. We're going to be replaying the clip that we played yesterday, where you have one of the senators essentially calling for regulatory framework and that we move swiftly in order to regulate crypto, to embrace it, and we don't be those bankers years ago that were sat with gold coins going, I don't understand how we can move to paper. Similar situation taking place now, guys. We're also going to be replaying some of Jerome Powell's statements directly at crypto, where he likens it to the railroad industry, the motoring industry, the internet, and a number of revolutions that have come before this one. That is what we are a part of, guys. And if you think crypto has reached its potential, you are sadly mistaken, in my opinion. We are at $1.8 trillion. We got to $3 trillion in terms of a market. This can get into the tens of trillions, if not into the future, into the hundreds, if it really does see the kind of adoption that I am personally expecting. And $3 trillion is not a boom. It's not a bubble kind of size, in my opinion. Remember, the dot-com boom in 1999 got to $5.5 trillion in terms of total value. That was in 1999. We have monopoly money today, guys. We can get a lot higher than we currently are, and regulatory clarity may be one of the catalysts to send it to where it needs to go. Because ultimately, you've got a lot of people who are sat on the sidelines, you've got a lot of institutions, you've got a lot of ETFs in the pipeline that are all going to have positive effects on the crypto space in terms of it being adopted and invested in. Remember, saying this is going to be very crypto specific, this one. We do indeed have a lot of pressures externally on the crypto space. We know that the economy isn't looking too hot right now. We've got commodities going through the roof. Again, apologies for not making a video on that yesterday. I thought I had made a video on it, but didn't click play on the camera and only realized that after 25 minutes of essentially talking to myself. So that will be coming later on today. So watch out for that. We'll go into sort of more macroeconomic stuff in that one after my probably the last video I publish. But essentially, we've seen a nice little pump probably off the back end of this. We also know that we have had quite a few shorts. Whoever is trading this market, I closed all of my perpetual future positions about 2 weeks ago because this market is brutal. Trying to trade it daily, good luck. You're going to end up in a psychiatric ward. It is not done with a huge degree of success at the moment. You can see with all the liquidations that are taking place to both the long and the short side. And of course, short squeezes is really what sort of amplifies this kind of movement when the market kind of turns off news like what we got. So we looked at the fact Biden was going to sign an executive order. This is supposed to be coming this week. It was supposed to be coming last week and the week before. But it is looking more and more likely, certainly with what has just been leaked. Janet Yellen, US Treasury, other departments will publish report on money under Biden's crypto executive order. We'll talk about money because we could have talked about Bretton Woods 3, which is what the Swiss, or an analyst at Swiss, Credit Suisse has essentially said is happening, and the dollar may start to get hit really negatively, and we may see the rise of other currencies, potentially something like Bitcoin, which is an alternative. So let's get into this. Janet Yellen, let's slip details of Biden, blah, blah, blah. We've read the first bit. A statement from the United States Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on President Joe Biden's executive order regarding digital assets calls for efforts to support innovation while addressing risk in the industry. Yellen's statement was released a day early, apparently by error, and quickly deleted, but was captured on a web archive. It shares early insights into the details of President Joe Biden's soon-to-be-released executive order. The order will call for a coordinated and comprehensive approach to digital asset policy. Yellen said that the executive order could result in substantial benefits for the nation, consumers, and business. Absolutely, we need to embrace this. It also addresses risks of illicit finance, protecting customers and investors, and preventing threats to financial system and broader economy. Yellen also outlined the next step the Treasury will take in learning to understand digital assets and how to regulate them within the parameters of the executive order. President Biden, White House, has been working on the executive order related to digital assets since January. An unnamed source told Barron's, yeah, we've already covered all this, but it goes on to a little bit more detail. The Treasury will work to promote a fairer, more inclusive and more official financial system while building on our ongoing work to counter illicit activities and prevent risk to financial stability in nations. Lots of people calling for a ban of crypto. Do you really think all the big companies in the world would be moving towards this? Why was it that they chose Gary Gensler, who the job that he had before that was teaching blockchain technology, teaching about cryptos at MIT? One of the most world-renowned technical universities that there is, or colleges that there is. You know, why is it they put him as the chairman of the SEC? Why is it that all your companies, Coinbase doubling their workforce, ETF after ETF getting filed by every single institution that there possibly is, you know, all the biggest ones, BlackRock, largest asset manager in the world, you know, Valkyrie, we've got so much going on. What, you think these guys just don't have a clue about the fact that crypto might be getting banned? Of course, yes, there are going to be casualties with regulation, but regulation is exactly what's needed to propel crypto to the next level of adoption, to start onboarding those big players and to allow Wall Street to monetize it and then push it, which potentially could see a bubble come later on down the line. But we will cover that in greater detail. And if that does happen, then of course, where people are going to go, straight into the CBDCs that they have lined up for you, that will essentially take away all of your financial privacy and let them be the ultimate dictators of whether you partake in the financial system, which we're seeing. We saw in Canada, all a very interesting world that we're moving towards, ladies and gentlemen. And a lot of crypto people only have one very small side of the story. And that's what we're trying to tell you from on this channel. Learning about history, learning about events, learning about finance, they're all linked. Everything is linked to finance. It directly affects your life, yet nobody takes the time to learn about it. Nobody takes the time to learn about alternative history either, which is a lot more revealing than the history that you get taught in school. I'm getting off topic here. Let's play some of these clips, guys, and then let's wrap this all up. Let's leave on some... this was Sophia Zala. She had posted this, and it's stunning insight from analyst of Credit Suisse. Talks about Bretton Woods, but we'll talk about that at the end of the video. We'll get through these. This was a clip that we played yesterday that we're going to replay
Good
quickly.
morning, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, probably the most effective tool we've deployed against Putin's outrageous attack on Ukraine is the sanctions on the Russian central bank and the freezing of Russian foreign reserves. Our ability to do so stems mostly from the dollar's preeminent position as the world's reserve currency. It is time, in fact, it is past time for all of us to lead on creating a regulatory environment in which we, rather than the world's despots, terrorists, and money launderers, benefit from the emergence of cryptocurrency, including a central bank digital currency. Mr. Chairman, one of the headlines on my news feed this morning reads, "Russians turn to crypto amid increasing sanctions," as the chairwoman indicated. The subcommittee I chair and the full committee have done and will do hard work on this topic, but it is time for all of us to act. Mr. Chairman, I can't shake the image of 17th century bankers sitting around London, unable to imagine that their gold pieces and copper plates could be replaced by these worthless pieces of paper. Let's not be those guys. Let's lead and not follow.
Amen to that, brother. That, you know, it's absolutely got to be the case that they've ignored it. You can't ignore it anymore. And what, is Biden really going to come out and ban things with the midterms around the corner? He is already probably one of the most unpopular individuals in terms of a president that there's ever been. He has made mistake after mistake after mistake. There is no defending. And I couldn't care less what side of the fence you sit on. It's irrelevant to me. But this guy has made mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake that has had catastrophic consequences. But people just keep sweeping it under the carpet. You know, there is one ruling class, but there should only be one ruling class, and that is the people. That's people like me and you. We should have the ultimate say in what takes place collectively. Not a very small amount of people that get to essentially dictate to us what it is we do and don't do. And yes, we have it quite cushy in the West in lots of ways, but there's a lot of freedoms that we have restricted from us that people don't even pay attention to because they're too distracted on everything else that is really irrelevant. So, you know, we've seen a little uptick from everything that's took place. I'm going to play the next clip of Jerome's actual comments on this. It's a very short and sweet one. It's not even a minute long, where he really likens crypto to a revolution like the railroad revolution and a number of others, and then we'll quickly go over that. But we are seeing crypto do... It's had a nice little pump today, but, you know, it's not... What you've got to remember is it's nothing really too spectacular. And what I mean by that is this was a marginally lower high than this one. You're kind of climbing up, if you will. So you could end up doing something like this. But remember, you are still in a confirmed downtrend and will be until you start to take a number of significant levels out, you know, 47k, 50k, 51k, and sort of start climbing back up and we go and establish a new high. And then you could be setting up into a sort of more wider macro structure that sees something similar to this, which has a number of outcomes that you can break out of. You know, you could squeeze to the upside from this, which is something we've been looking at for a while now. So let's play the second clip, and then let's get into Sophie's retweet in regards to Credit Suisse and their sort of analysis of what's actually taking place here. And now we can actually see the emergence of new currencies on the back end of the dollar getting decimated.
And I just think it underscores the need, really, for congressional action on digital finance, including cryptocurrencies. We have this burgeoning industry which has many parts to it, and there isn't in place the kind of regulatory framework that needs to be there. It was probably no different with railroads or telephones or the internet. And ultimately, what's needed is a framework, and in particular, ways to prevent these unbacked cryptocurrencies from serving as a vehicle for terrorist finance and just general criminal behavior, tax avoidance and the like. So I guess that's what I would say there. I don't really know the extent to which it's happening, although...
We'll leave it there. You get the drift. How many people use telephones? How many people use the internet? How many people use the railroad industry? How many people use vehicles? You know, blockchain is on a similar adoption path, and it's something that we remind you of daily, even in dire straits like what the crypto or some of your altcoins have been in. Short-term volatility over a longer-term time horizon. When you look at adoption... Your adoption curve kind of looks like that. Let's go get a fresh chart. Choose the Petra future. When you look at adoption, your adoption curve looks like that. Obviously, you don't have the... It looks like that with adoption. But within that, the chart looks like this. You know? This is what the chart looks like. But over the long term, it kind of smooths out. So that is really all we have for you. Let's quickly read through this. We're going to mention it in our later videos, talking about commodities and talking about how the dollar is getting somewhat killed off. Stunning insight for new analysis by Credit Suisse. We are witnessing the birth of a new world monetary order. Russia-Ukraine's crisis centers on rising allure of outside money over inside money. Money will never be the same again, and Bitcoin is poised to potentially benefit. So it talks about all this. We are witnessing the birth of Bretton Woods 3, a new world monetary order centered around commodity-based currencies in the East that will likely weaken the euro-dollar system and contribute to inflation forces in the West. We're already seeing huge inflation. That is before all your commodities literally, or a lot of them, doubled in price. Nickel had a very interesting story that we'll talk about. Somebody essentially tried to short squeeze nickel that would have collapsed the entire. I'm getting way off topic. There's just so much going on with markets, so much to be excited about that's taking place right before your eyes. A crisis is unfolding, a crisis of commodities. Commodities are collateral, and collateral is money. And this crisis is about the rising allure of outside money over inside money. Bretton Woods 2 was built on the inside money, and its foundations crumbled a week ago when the G7 seized Russian FX reserves. I have mixed feelings on this whole situation, but I'm going to stay. I don't want to get into what's going on right now, particularly because it will probably upset quite a few people. This crisis is not like anything we have seen since President Nixon took away the dollar off the gold in 1971. The end of an era of commodity-based money. When the crisis and war is over, the US dollar should be much weaker. And on the flip side, the remnant much stronger. Backed by a basket of commodities from the Bretton Woods era, backed by gold bullion, to Bretton Woods 2, backed by inside money, treasury with unhedged fiscal risk, to Bretton Woods 3, backed by outside money, gold bullion, and other commodities. After this war is over, money will never be the same again, and Bitcoin, if it still exists, will probably benefit from this. Just a little interesting insight for you from Credit Suisse. So I'm going to love and leave you on that note, guys. Super, super interesting what Janet Yellen is essentially saying here, or what the order has so far revealed. I don't like it when things accidentally get leaked, because you got to question, well, was it really an accident? But we will see, guys. But there is going to be casualties with regulation. DeFi is a sector that is somewhat looking to get targeted. But there is also huge beneficiaries. And one of the best beneficiaries of everything is, just like your other industries, the second that they got regulated and you regulated, okay, right, we can start pushing this. We can do it in a deemed safe way in your interest. Remember, it's always in your interests, even if it's not. It can really see that sort of next level of adoption. So that's really all I have for you. Crypto market's looking a bit more perky. Some interesting information. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. If you've enjoyed the content, like, so appreciate it. So is a comment. And I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.